Welcome to Mission Messiah Television. It's always a blessing to be with you, and today we really want to continue and maybe kind of bring to a conclusion some of the things we've talked about the last 2 weeks. Of course, our focus the last 2 weeks has been really on two things. We looked at the miracle of Hannah. We talked about that and bearing Samuel, the son that the barren woman could not have, the miracle of God. And then we looked at Eli, and we talked about the ever-present need for each of us as parents to be diligent in disciplining our children and not letting them run amok and run into the ditch. And Eli failed to do that. And so I pick up today at the end of chapter 4, where we basically have seen, we've seen a couple of things. We saw the death of those two sons of Eli. Now, mind you, they had the Ark of the Covenant. They were with the Ark of the Covenant, which represented God's presence with his people. And they're still there. And the people had thought, if the Ark of the Covenant is here and with us, then the Philistines cannot defeat us. But you see, it's one thing to wear a cross around your neck, or as I've said, put a bumper sticker on your car that acknowledges the Lord, when in fact our heart is not with the Lord. Two totally separate things. And the Lord is bringing that out in these texts, because these men were serving in the temple every day. They were their father's servants in the temple, but they were misusing and abusing their position. And not only was it bringing their own destruction, it was causing a strong misconception of God to the people at large. So we pick up in the end of chapter 4 again, just for a brief review. And both of the sons have been killed, and now their father Eli has received the word, and he gets the word, falls off of his seat, verse 18, backwards, breaks his neck, and dies. Wow. What a tragic end to this man's life. But pick up with me in verse 19. And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tidings that the ark of God was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman that stood by her said unto her, Fear not, for you have borne a son. But she answered not, neither did she regard it. You see, there was something more going on within her thoughts and within her heart at that point. And she named that child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, The glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken. And the name Ichabod actually means inglorious. So she was just naming the reality that the glory of God had departed Israel by the taking of the Ark of the Covenant. So we pick up in chapter 5. And the Philistines took the Ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the Ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. Now understand, Dagon is the edifice or the stoned statue that the Philistines bowed down and worshiped. You know, man makes gods out of stone that are totally inanimate. Wow. But that's what they've done with Dagon, and now they have brought the Ark of the Covenant into the house of Dagon and set it up beside Dagon, as though God is something on a playing field or plane with Dagon, their God. But listen to this. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon and set him back up in his place. Oh my goodness, they come in early in the morning to check on their God. Maybe they're going to worship him. And their God, their stone image, is down on his face before the Ark of the Covenant. So, here we continue. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, the next morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and both of his palms were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. You know, I think one of the lessons we need to get right here is our God is more than able to take care of himself. And let it be clearly understood, there is no God besides the one true and living God. Let me repeat that. There is no God besides the one true and living God. Therefore, neither the priest of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. So, you know, the Lord God Almighty struck his fear into these people at this point in time. They did not even dare to enter in to this place where their God had been smashed, lost his head, lost his hands. And so, but the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them, just because they weren't going to go into the presence of the Ark of the Covenant and where their God had once stood on his edifice, because they had been destroyed. And so now God began to destroy them and smote them with emerods or tumors, if you will, even Ashdod and the coast thereof. So God began to bring a curse of tumors upon these Philistines in the land. Now, you know, that probably stretches some theology that I've heard of individuals saying, well, God would never do that. God wouldn't do that. Let me tell you, we are not to position ourselves as enemies of God. And the word is clear. Whosoever is a friend of the world is the enemy of God. And Jesus taught us to love our enemies, but there's a crossing point with God. There's a crossing point with God that we clearly see here, because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so you see God smiting the Philistines with these tumors. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of God of Israel shall not abide with us. We cannot leave this in our midst, for his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon our God. They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them, and said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of God of Israel be carried about to Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about there. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction, and smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had tumors in their secret parts. So God literally caused this bunch of people to have tumors in their genitals. Therefore, they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, They have brought about the ark of the God of Israel to us to slay us and our people. So they're all wanting to get rid of this presence of God, this ark of the covenant, the God of Israel. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, Send away the ark of God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy, and the men that died not were smitten with the tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. You know, God is God. God is more than able to fend for himself and make his point. You know, he is clearly establishing amongst the Philistines that he is God, to the point that they obviously all have developed a very strong fear of Israel's God and want him far removed from them. So we pick up in 6, because this really almost, it's so good. Just stay with me. The ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priest and the diviner, saying, What shall we do to the ark of the Lord? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. And they said, If you send away the ark of the God of Israel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass offering. In other words, try to make amends with this God of Israel. Let's send a gift. Let's send that we have trespassed, and we acknowledge that, and we're sorry, but send him away. So that was their idea, that they might be healed. And it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then said they, What shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden tumors. So they're going to form these tumors out of gold, and 5 golden mice, according to the number of lords of the Philistines. For 1 plague was on you all, and on your lords. So they were acknowledging that God had put these tumors upon them in these plagues. Wherefore you shall make images of your tumors and images of your mice that mar the land, and you shall give glory unto the God of Israel. God has a way of even having pagans, unbelievers, acknowledge who he is and all that he is. And you shall give glory to the God of Israel, peradventure, hoping he will lighten his hand from off you and from off your gods and from off your land. Wherefore, when then do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaohs hardened their hearts? Why would you do that? When he had worked wonderfully among them, did they not let the people go, and they departed? In other words, wonderfully meaning there, when he had not done these amazing, incredible, God-only plagues, did they not come to the sensibility to say, let these people go, get these people from our midst, stop these plagues? And so that's what the wise men are asking the Philistines here. So wherefore then, why are you hardening your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts when he had done these things among them? And then they said, let the people go. Now therefore, here's what you do. You make a new cart, you take 2 milch kine, or two oxen basically, on which there has come no yoke. In other words, these have not been tamed or trained or whatever. They've just been kind of open cattle, and tie the kine to the cart and bring their calves home from them. So we've got 2 mother cows here, and we've got some calves, but they're saying take the calves home and take the ark of the Lord and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold which you return him for a trespass offering in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away, that it may go. And see if it goes up by the way of his own coast to Beth-shemesh, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we will know that it is not his hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us. So, it would be even good if people tried to understand when God's working and when God's not working, as these wise men were encouraging the Philistines to do right here. They said, here's what you do. You take these 2 cows, and they've got calves, they've got babies, but you put them over here in the pen, and then you tie this cart to these cows, place the Ark of the Covenant on it, give our trespass offering, put it on the side, and see what happens. If these cattle take this Ark of the Covenant back to God's place and people, we'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the things that have befallen us, the tumors, and things of this nature, if it was truly God that allowed it. If the cattle don't go back, we know that it's just something that befell us. Well, let's pick up right there. And the men did so, took the 2 milch kine, tied them to the cart, shut up their calves at home. You know how a cow is with their calves. Can you just hear those little babies bawling for their mother, and their mother's wanting to get to them? It's pretty natural, but look what happens here. They laid the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold and the images of their emerods. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Beth-shemesh, and went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And the lords of the Philistines went after them unto the border of Beth-shemesh. They wanted to see. They wanted to see if this Ark of the Covenant was taken by these cattle to Beth-shemesh, to make sure they were not going to leave any shadow of any doubt. And they of Beth-shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. They lifted up their eyes and saw the ark and rejoiced to see it. So again, the Israelites now see the cart returning. It had been taken, and there was great sadness in the land. But here it returns, and the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Bethshemite, and stood there where there was a great stone. And they clave the wood of the cart, and offered the kine a burnt offering unto the Lord. They acknowledged the Lord right here, and the Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth-shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices the same day unto the Lord. And when the 5 lords of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the golden emerods which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto the Lord for Ashdod, 1, for Gaza, 1, for Ashkelon, 1, for Gath, 1, for Ekron, 1. and the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 lords, both of fenced cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they set down the ark of the Lord, which stone remains unto this day in the field of Joshua the Bethshemite. And he smote the men of Bethshemesh, listen to this, because they looked into the ark of the Lord. Even he smote of the people 50,060 men. Let me tell you, God expects us to revere him. One of the great issues that we have in our land and culture today, and honestly throughout the world, is a lack of fear and reverence of Almighty God. You know, they got confused here again. They were confused. They thought the Ark of the Covenant was a good luck charm. And if it was present, they had everything in hand. But their hearts were far removed from God. And I ask you today, are you placing God in your thoughts as a good luck charm? Are you truly committed unto him? Are we truly living and desiring the things of God each and every day, endeavoring to develop an intimate relationship with him? Because if not, we find ourselves where the Israelites did, confused, misunderstanding, looking for the answer in the wrong place. Our answer is in Jesus Christ. I encourage you today, if you don't know him, invite him into your heart. Open his word. Seek his face. You will find him. The Lord bless you and keep you. You know, for some 17 years, we have operated WOW and ZIP as work training centers for the ladies that were coming through Mission Messiah as a means for them to develop support for themselves and for their babies. And you have been such a part in blessing in the operation of those businesses, and we are forever grateful. Living one day at a time and watching the hour in which we're living, some months back, we really began to look seriously and determined that it was time to virtually liquidate WOW, close the doors, be done, lock the door. We never had that utter conviction on ZIP and continued to maintain and service our customers and so forth. And then the WOW, we virtually liquidated inventory down to a very minimal basis. Through that process and living one day at a time, we heard many of you say, gosh, we hate for WOW to go away. And we heard you. We were listening each day to those messages. And we also know that from the very outset, WOW and ZIP were both established not only as ministries to the ladies that were coming through the Mission Messiah program, but honestly also to our customers. That our first and foremost heart's desire was to encourage every single individual that came through these doors, that we would look for opportunities to encourage. We asked God at the outset, God, allow this to be a platform for us to share the hope that we have in you, the incredible miraculous things that you're doing in our lives, the transformative work that you're doing in our lives, the hope that you're bringing in replacement of hopelessness. All of these things we ask God to allow us, and we have witnessed it through these doors, and you have been a part of that. Well, we never close the doors. We never close the doors, and living one day at a time, we believe that God has made it abundantly clear that we're not to close the doors at this time. Yes, we were to clean up the inventories and clean up shop, so to speak, and basically gave us a new direction, as He has at the mission. We've talked about that over the last few months. We honestly believe for this hour, this critical last hour we believe that we're in, God has changed our direction and focus. And we desire in this hour, we're changing the name from WOW to simply WOW. And that means that it's going to be a simpler shopping experience. Again, we have simplified. We are redirecting much of our inventory to spiritual gifts, journals. Encouraging words. This is a book by Dr. David Jeremiah. It's a wonderful book, and does that very thing, encouragement. And we always tell you that this show is about encouraging and enhancing your life. Books like Max Lucado's In the Footsteps of the Savior. These things are all available now. So, there's not a Christian bookstore in Odessa any longer, but now you can find these things at Simply WOW. This will be a focus, and you have been very supportive over the last year or so as we begin to stock these things in our inventory. So many of the things that you have known for years at WOW, the candles, the soaps, the pots, and some of the metal art, those things we're going to continue to carry in Simply WOW. And so we want you to be aware of this. We're receiving a great new shipment of inventory, even as we speak right now, in the pottery for your spring planting and your landscape with the metal art and things of that nature. We love you, and we really do thank you for being such a part of God's work through Mission Messiah. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. We look forward to seeing you very soon.